everyone, and welcome to another product review. Before I get started, I must address this. Yes, I completely cut off pretty much all of my hair. I'm so ready for a change. I'm so glad I did it. I love the way that it turned out. And yeah, I did it this weekend and I couldn't be happier with it. So the product that we are going to be reviewing today is the Este Lauder Double Wear Waterproof Concealer. This concealer retails for $27 US, both online and in stores. It can be found in 11 different shades. I grabbed the shade medium warm to try out today, and you get 0.5 fluid ounces. Straight from the website, the product details state that it is a 24-hour wear concealer. It keeps dark circles and imperfections out of sight for the said 24 hours. It's hydrating and color true with a full coverage matte finish. The formula facts on this concealer state that it is oil-free, ophthalmologist tested, dermatologist tested, and it won't clog your pores. And as far as how to use it, it does recommend that you use a concealer brush, specifically their Concealer 5 brush. Swipe concealer to back of hand, then with brush, smooth on over desired areas and blend well. Per usual, I am going to be testing this concealer out with and without a color corrector, so I'm going to go ahead and apply color corrector onto the right under eye area, but skip it on the left under eye area. This concealer doesn't state to be creaseless or anything like that, so I am definitely going to be setting it with some RCMA No Color Loose Powder, which is what I typically would set the under eye area with. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead off camera, apply some foundation, apply color corrector to just the right under eye area, and then I will be right back. Okay, so now I am back with foundation on and color corrector on one side. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place some of this concealer onto the back of my hand. I'm going to start off small since it does state that it is full coverage. And then I'm just going to grab it with a concealer brush and apply it onto this side first. Not a big fan of how the concealer brushes apply concealer, so I'm gonna grab my beauty blender. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna opt for my finger on this side since I did not like the application with the concealer brush on this side. And then just blending it out using my damp beauty blender. I definitely like how it blended out with just the beauty blender and not so much the brush. I'm gonna apply some more though. Try to build it up a little bit because I feel like I didn't get enough coverage with just the one layer that I initially applied. Okay, so I definitely prefer how it blends out using a beauty blender as opposed to a brush, a concealer brush. But I typically don't like brushes for applying concealer anyway. Okay, so it feels pretty good and it looks pretty good. I don't feel like I'm getting the most coverage out of this concealer because I applied a couple layers on this side and I can still see my dark circles peeking through. And then I have the color corrector on this side, but I can still kind of see my dark circles there. Nothing too intense. I mean, it does definitely do a good job at concealing, just not the best job at concealing my dark circles. So now I'm going to zoom you all in so that you can get a better look at the under eye area after initial application. Okay, so as you can see, the product actually looks pretty good underneath the eye area. I feel like it doesn't look heavy whatsoever, and it's doing a pretty good job at concealing. Not the best, but it definitely is concealing, you know, some. So it doesn't look heavy. It doesn't look like it's creasing quite yet, but I am definitely going to set it with some loose powder just to prevent it from creasing throughout the day. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of loose powder, just a tiny bit with my beauty blender. It looks pretty good. I'm not going to complain because it actually looks pretty good. I thought that it would do worse. One thing that I must add is that when I was working with the concealer brush on this side, it did seem to start setting like super quickly. So if you're going to use a brush in order to apply this product, I would suggest working pretty quickly because it was setting, and then that, I think that was making it harder to blend. Whereas this one, I mean, I applied it, it was still wet. I blended it out using the Beauty Blender really quickly and it wasn't an issue. But I feel like that was the issue on this side. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish off the rest of my makeup and I will be right back. Okay, so now I'm back with a full face of makeup and I must say that I like it. I like the way that I'm conflicted. It's definitely not full coverage in my opinion. I feel like you can still see my dark circles peeking through a little bit. So not completely full coverage, but I like the way that it's set. It almost like, even if I touch underneath the eye area, it kind of feels like it's not going anywhere. Like it's set and it's set. So I'm excited about that. And it doesn't feel heavy underneath the eye whatsoever. It literally just looks like kind of like my skin, but just matte. And that's what it feels like. Yeah, like I just touched it and nothing really happened. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of excited about this, but hopefully it wears well throughout the day. It is currently 11:55 a.m., so almost noon time here. I'm going to come back and check back with you guys in about 3 or 4 hours for a quick midday check-in just to see how the concealer is wearing throughout the day. So I will see you here shortly. Okay, so now I am back for a midday check-in. It is currently 3:31 p.m., so a little under the midway mark for a full 8 hours. It is wearing well. It's wearing nicely. I don't think it's really changed a whole lot from when I first applied it. I don't see it breaking or anything like that. It did crease on me just a tiny bit on this side, I can see. And not so much on this side. I'll show you all here up close in a second. It hasn't really worn off, but I didn't really get a whole lot of like full coverage from the beginning. As I did mention, I did feel like you could still see my dark circles even after initially applying it. So that hasn't changed. I still feel like I have the same like level of coverage as I did when I first applied it. Aside from that, there's not really a whole lot else to discuss or to make mention of. So now I'm going to go ahead and zoom you all in so that you can get a better look at the under eye area after about 4 hours of wear. Okay, so as you can see, if I look up, there's a little bit of creasing on that side. And I don't really see it so much on this side, although I think it is creasing a little bit there as well. I don't feel like I'm getting full coverage on either side. Definitely getting more full coverage on the color corrected side than I am on the non-color corrected side. But no, I wouldn't call this full coverage. Okay, so that is it for my midday check-in. I do plan on wearing this for about another 4 hours or so just to try to get a full 8 hours worth of wear. So I will see you all back here real soon. Okay, so now I am back for a final check-in. It is currently 7:24, so I'm a little shy of a full 8 hours. Before I get into my thoughts though, I am going to zoom you all in so that you can get a better look at the under eye area after almost 8 hours of wear. Okay, so this is my under eye area after almost 8 hours, like I mentioned. It hasn't really done anything else aside from what I mentioned midday, which was creasing a little bit on this side and not so much on this side. I feel like it has worn quite well, although I do see it breaking a little bit there. And I guess a little bit in that corner as well. I see it kind of wore off a little bit there and it wore off a little bit there. But aside from that, I feel like it actually wore pretty well. Okay, so now that you've seen the under eye area up close, I can get into my thoughts. And honestly, overall, I actually really liked the concealer. I feel like it wore really well. It did wear matte. And although it did crease a little bit on this side, I don't feel like the creasing was too excessive or too incredibly noticeable like it has been with other concealers. So there was that. My only other complaint would be that it claims to be full coverage, but I don't feel like it really was, or at least it really wasn't on me. Overall, I enjoyed the concealer. I really liked how it wore, but this is definitely not something that I will be reaching for whenever I am looking for complete full coverage. But I definitely will be reaching for this on light days, on regular days where I just want to put some concealer under my eyes, look presentable, and be out and about running errands. This I can definitely see myself reaching for. It just feels really light under the eye. It feels kind of like skin, like you don't really have a whole lot under there, and it gives you good coverage. It really does, especially for someone like me. I feel like I got really good coverage out of this. Not complete coverage, but really good coverage. So those are my thoughts on the concealer. Thank you all so much for watching. I truly hope that you enjoyed this video review and that you found it helpful. As always, take care, and I will see you all in my next video. Mwah! Bye.